Coming up on the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast, one of the largest companies in the world is partnering with Indiana's oldest public college on apprenticeships. An Indy company is looking to use drones for deliveries. We spotlight one of the oldest glass art companies in the world. What does Girl Scout cookie season look like in a pandemic? An Indy-based special needs organization is growing. Butler University puts the freeze on tuition, and we get a preview of Super Bowl 55. Welcome to the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. I'm Andy Ober. One of the largest companies in the world is partnering with Indiana's oldest public college to prepare students for careers in automation and robotics. Amazon has chosen Vincennes University as the first school in the country to partner on its mechatronics and robotics apprenticeship program. Vincennes President Chuck Johnson joined Inside Indiana Business host Gary Dick to talk about what the partnership means for the school.
I think it's really noteworthy that Vincennes was selected for this. This didn't happen by happenstance. Amazon selected you, and this is a program that has certainly impact here in central Indiana, but is beginning to morph into a national program.
Absolutely. We were fortunate to have Amazon, representative from Amazon, visit our Logistics Training and Education Center in Plainfield in about 2019. And from there, they were talking about what they could do to support the Central Indiana fulfillment centers. And that grew into an apprenticeship program for Central Indiana, 43 apprentices in that program, still currently in that program. And then they came to us after the launch of that in September of 19 and asked if we could maybe change the model a little bit and do something differently where they could bring in apprentices from around the United States to the Vincennes campus where we have residence halls and can put people up for housing and do it in a model where they do 12 weeks of intensive training to start, and then they go back out of the fulfillment centers and they'll come back for periodic training to Indiana.
A lot we could talk about here, but give us the thumbnail description of the program as one of the items indicated on the screen there. Some of these people have the ability to perhaps increase their income by 40%. These apprentices are going to live on the VU campus, get the work experience, and then go back out into the workplace. How will it play out?
Well, we've been able to get folks to come in from all over, even during the pandemic. They've been able to complete their training. The training is very intense. It's full weeks of training and hands-on with our instructors in our mechatronics labs. And then they'll go and take tests to be certified according to different levels and different qualifications under PMMI, which is the certifying organization. And then once they complete the 12 weeks of training, Amazon then sends them back to their fulfillment centers for home to begin the actual on-the-job apprenticeship work. And then they will be back and forth for additional training as needed.
And Chuck, again, a number of these workers are here in Indiana, but some, as you indicated, are from around the country. This is really a model that could be perhaps replicated. I mean, at other companies, and it's really focused, again, on the logistics sector at this particular time.
Absolutely. Well, we know that automation is going to be an even bigger factor in a lot of industry, but logistics especially. And these are the individuals that help manage that automation, help keep it running, help ensure that things are moving efficiently and as expected. And so here in Indiana, and central Indiana in particular, with all of the logistics and distribution centers that we have, this skill set will be needed. And I think this could push Indiana into a position where we are not just training Amazon, but all sorts of folks across this, and give us the ability to say we are not just the locus for distribution because of our geographic location, but because we also have the ability to develop the talent needed to keep these systems running.
This really is a testament, I think, to the work that you and your team at Vincennes have been doing on a number of fronts. As you look at this going forward, and you touched on this a moment ago, but this has the potential to make Vincennes, also Indiana, more of maybe a shining light when it comes to folks from around the country looking at the state of Indiana.
Absolutely. I think if we hear all the time about the need for talent, particularly technical talent in these key types of industries, and it'd be great if our folks in economic development can say, not only do we have a great location for you because of our highway system and where we're located, but we also have the ability to get the talent you're going to need to sustain these businesses.
And very quickly, we don't have about 20 seconds, but you talk about a game changer. Sometimes that's overused, but it seems that this could be a game changer for the university going forward.
It's a tremendous model for us. It builds on a lot of things we've been doing with other partners, and this is a great way to utilize the assets that we have and the great faculty we have.
Vincennes University President Chuck Johnson, a major partnership, an apprenticeship partnership, a program with Amazon bringing some national attention to Indiana. Chuck, as always, thanks for joining us. Look forward to having you on the show again sometime soon.
Thank you, Gary.
All right.
We're all used to having letters, bills, and packages delivered to our homes by a human. That model could soon change, thanks in part to an Indianapolis-based startup's drone technology. DroneDeck CEO Dan O'Toole came on the show with details.
Let's get right to it. I want to talk about new developments, but first, DroneDeck, mailbox of the future. Give us that thumbnail description of what DroneDeck is all about.
Thank you. Yep, DroneDeck is the mailbox of the future, the smart mailbox of autonomy. It's one thing to receive items through drone delivery, but everything you gain with fast, efficient, cost-effective delivery of autonomy, you lose when you drop an item in somebody's porch or on their yard. And so for that reason, you need to complete the last mile solution with a secure platform like DroneDeck. So that's what we're doing.
And that's really a big advancement since the last time you were on the show in June of 2019. And that's, trying to solve those security and cost issues in that last mile delivery.
Absolutely. The cost currently when any item is delivered conventionally, items that are purchased on the internet every day, there's 100 million of them. 91% of those are 5 pounds or less, which makes them drone deliverable. Currently, those items are about $2 each. When you deliver by a drone to a DroneDeck, that number drops to $1. So we're gaining a lot of security, efficiency, and a lot of other benefits while saving cost to the shipping economy. So it's going to be a win-win for the user and the logistics companies.
All right. You say you're getting closer to a product launch. You've raised money. So you have the prospect to add some jobs as well, looking at a new headquarters as well. Talk about where things are now with DroneDeck.
Yeah, thanks so much. Happy to announce we have just come to terms with the city of Lawrence for a new building that we're going to be outfitting as the new headquarters for DroneDeck. So we're excited about continuing our Indiana story. We've got a lot of great things going on. We're getting ready to announce some testing regimes for, we're taking delivery of our new prototypes in the beginning of Q2, and we're excited about early stage talks we're having with Fishers right now, as well as Lawrence, and we got some great new announcements that are going to be coming out with some great huge logistics companies that will hopefully be involved as well.
30 seconds left, Dan, but right now, as you sit there, how far out do you think you are from a product launch?
We're looking to launch into the marketplace in the next 18 months, and it'll be a very deliberate, strategic launch, saturating specific zip codes, but we're getting very close to rollout. We're doing our capital raise right now on wefunder.com, and we're excited about where we are, Gary.
Very exciting, innovative technology. I know you have a couple of patents you've acquired as well. Dan O'Toole, the CEO at DroneDeck. And Dan, again, thanks for joining us. We'll be following your story.
Thanks, Gary.
Did you know one of the oldest glass art companies in the world calls Howard County home? Kokomo Opalescent Glass has been making colored glass art and architecture for more than 130 years. Inside Indiana business reporter Mary Rachel Redmond takes us inside.
People have been making glass, going all the way back to very ancient times. We're talking ancient Egypt. The Romans were very good at it. The Babylonians did it.
And Hoosiers. It all started in the late 1880s when word of a natural gas boom reached Brooklyn glass chemist Charles Henry.
When he heard about the Indiana gas boom and the availability of free natural gas, he moved out here to Kokomo and set up shop. And to this day, we continue to manufacture using the same recipes and the same techniques that he did.
So this hasn't changed much since 1888. This is the original
building? No, this is the original building here. And really the whole complex is pretty much as it was.
Kokomo Opalescent Glass is the oldest glass manufacturer in America. Its very first customer, a guy by the name of Louis Comfort Tiffany, famous for his stained glass windows and the iconic Tiffany lamp.
Tiffany was the biggest customer for the first 20 or 30 years. The glass that he bought from us would have looked just like these. These are the same colors. He still used the actual rolling machines that his glass was made on.
You can find their glass in some of the most recognizable places around the globe. from the White House to the Vatican.
We're in all the Disney parks. Some people estimate that we're in about 75% of the world's churches. We got a call 2 years ago from the maintenance manager at Mount Vernon. Had a pane of glass cracked. So they were able to supply us with a drawing, and so we made a replacement pane of glass, the same way they did in colonial times. And so we're in George Washington's house, too.
And nearly a century and a half since opening its doors, the seemingly under-the-radar operation in Kokomo continues to amass an international list of clientele.
We ship to Japan, Europe, South America. Last year, we produced just under 250,000 square feet of glass.
I mean, that's tall.
So what exactly makes KOG a cut above the rest?
The fact that we're producing glass the same way we did in 1888. When a church, a public building, needs their stained glass window repaired, if we didn't manufacture the original glass that's in that window, we have over 22,000 different color and texture combinations.
And you can see for yourself. Factory tours are available weekly, or you can even take a class.
We offer lessons in almost everything we do here. It's hands-on. You're handling the hot glass.
He's not kidding.
And rest it on the windowsill and then rotate clockwise against the wall. Very good. Now go straight over here to the blue. And then you're gonna dip one side, just squish it in there.
Oh, squish it in, okay.
Yeah, squish it in there, and then flip, and then lift. There you go. And then squish it back into the green. All right, now I will take the pipe so you can make sure your right hand doesn't touch it.
Okay, and
You pinch and grab and pull, and then move it around, and then tag it down, and then pinch and pull some more.
And in some ways, the history of the company is just as fascinating as the glass.
We're a big part of the region's industrial heritage. You look at our connections with Tiffany and other well-known artists. We're a huge part of America's artistic heritage.
Mary Rachel Redmond, Inside Indiana Business.
The season is here for us all to buy Samoas, Thin Mints, and more. For me, it's the lemonades. But how can Girl Scout cookie season happen safely during a pandemic? Girl Scouts of Central Indiana CEO Danielle Shockey tells us how a partnership with Grubhub is making it happen.
And you are in a place where a lot of people would want to be. You are in the Girl Scout cookie vault, right? Among 120,000 packages of Girl Scout cookies.
I am. I can get you a Thin Mint, that's for sure.
Oh, good. That's my favorite, by the way. The Girl Scout cookie sales, no small business to be sure. As we were talking off camera, 3 million packages moved annually here in Indiana, in Central Indiana. It's a very important fundraiser, obviously, for the organization.
It is, and for the organization and for the girls and the troops, because most of the proceeds actually go to the troops. Some obviously come to support the actual program and the council and the scholarships and the things we provide. But this is where the girls set their goals for what they want to do in Girl Scouting for the next 12 months. So the proceeds go to the troop and the girl, and that's why it's important.
Yeah, well, talk about the impact that COVID has had. I think it's obvious it's impacted so many organizations in multiple ways. But in terms of the sale of cookies, it's obviously had a big impact.
It has. And we know one thing. 3 million packages of cookies are still wanted in our community, if past years have told us anything. And so we wanted to figure out alternative ways to get these to the consumer. So the Grubhub national relationship is perfect. It's contactless, and it's also perfect because it's teaching our girls another way of thinking about how to do business. So the girls who man the Grubhub booth are learning, point of sale technology they've never seen before. They're learning the logistics of what it means to pre-order versus on time pickup and so forth. So it's actually expanded our horizons quite a bit, and I really believe theirs. Yeah, and so essentially it's the Grubhub app, and it's a way to order cookies there. So it's as simple as that. It is, and it's through February 14th. If you order 3 boxes, the delivery is free. Yeah, wow. As we wrap up here, Danielle, and you touched on this a moment ago, but this is really teaching entrepreneurial skills, and which is a big part of what Girl Scouts is about, teaching lessons, life lessons. This is one that could have a business application for some of these young ladies in the future. Absolutely. If you talk to women business leaders, even in central Indiana, many of them share stories of how they got their start and where they got that bug from reaching goals was when they first sold Girl Scout cookies. Absolutely.
Danielle Chalky is the CEO of Girl Scouts of Central Indiana. Fascinating partnership with Grubhub, selling Girl Scout cookies in a new and unique way. Danielle, as always, thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Remember, you can catch Inside Indiana Business Television on stations throughout the state every weekend. Head to InsideIndianaBusiness.com to check listings. Indianapolis-based Hope Bridge is a critical lifeline for families with special needs children. It's already one of the largest autism therapy health providers in the nation, and it's growing this year. Founder and Chief Clinical Officer Kim Strunk spoke with Kylie Valletta in the Business of Health.
All right, so you have a big expansion coming, but first of all, let's talk about what you already have in Indiana, 18 centers. The new one in Elkhart will make 19. And you say what really makes Hope Bridge unique is its approach to care, which is called Hope Bridge 360 Care. Tell us about that approach.
Sure. You know, our mission at Hope Bridge is to be able to provide access to children with autism for services that are appropriate. And part of that is making sure that we bring in a variety of specialists that are able to participate in that care. So one of the things that really sets us out is our diagnostic services. A lot of children run into kind of a bottleneck in being able to access intervention because they don't have a diagnosis. And sometimes the wait list can be up to a year in order to get diagnosed. So we brought diagnostics into our service mix in order to help increase that access. The other component that is important for these families is just convenience. And so having occupational therapy, speech therapy, and their ABA therapy under one roof really allows them to be able to access all the services at one time, and it's more convenient for them.
All right, and this expansion up to 20 new centers in the 6 states. Why did you see a need to open all these new centers?
You know, the prevalence of autism continues to grow, 1 in 54 kids. And it's just amazing that the communities still have such a great unmet need. And so, again, our mission is to increase access for children to appropriate care. And so we continue to find communities that need services, and that's where we're going.
All right, so let's talk about the pandemic. I think it's been hard on children everywhere for a lot of different reasons, but especially hard on kids with special needs. What kinds of challenges have you seen families with kids with autism struggling with during the pandemic?
Yeah, the pandemic, as you said, it's been hard on everybody, but special needs children particularly hard, and families that are trying to maintain some type of continuity of care for their children. That's been a real challenge for services that get interrupted. You lose that continuity of care, and it's so critical to avoid any type of regression in their skills. The other is social isolation. And for children with autism, social skill development is really a hallmark challenge for them. And so the isolation that the social distancing and the restrictions have put onto these families has only compounded that. And then you add in, as the kids are going back to school, mask wearing. A lot of these kids have sensory challenges and sensory aversions. A lot of them have communication issues, and so the mask wearing inhibits and causes problems for them in those ways as well.
And do you think all of those challenges have really underscored the need for your services?
Absolutely. I think it's more important than ever, and we have worked very hard as essential healthcare providers to stay open in a safe manner so that our patients and our staff are safe. But it is really critical that these kids have that continuity and that we're available to address their needs.
All right, so we've talked a lot about the care you provide, but also a good business angle to this. Talk about some of the advantages that your company brings as a business to a community.
Yeah, one of the great things, obviously priority is providing excellent care for these children and their families. But the other thing when we go into a community is to be a partner with that community and provide jobs. So, we're committed to providing jobs in every community that we go to. So we will, in the year 2021, be offering 400 new jobs just in the state of Indiana alone. So with all of our expansion opportunities, we continue to bring specialists in Those specialists are licensed professionals that are coming into those communities to provide jobs for those communities and those families.
All right, very good, Kim. Thanks for being on the show today, and good luck with all of the expansions.
Thank you, Kylie. Appreciate it.
The Precision Health Initiative, part of the Indiana University Grand Challenges Initiative, aims to eradicate some of the most dreaded diseases faced by Hoosiers, including triple-negative breast cancer. IU says the research can help revolutionize the way clinical trials are being conducted for cancers worldwide. Doctors Tatiana Faroud and Sharon Moe with the IU School of Medicine joined us with more.
Dr. Faroud, I'll start with you. I thought kind of a definition, if you will, of the focus of the Precision Health Initiative. I thought it was pretty good. Getting the right treatment to the right patient at the right time. That kind of seems to encapsulate kind of the mission. Expand on that, if you would.
Be glad to. So you're exactly right. That is exactly the goal. One of the challenges is you can't solve everything at once. So we've been funded since 2016, since we were announced by President McRobbie, and we've really made progress in two areas that I want to talk about today. The first is triple-negative breast cancer, as you mentioned, and also a childhood cancer, which is osteosarcoma. So I'd like to walk you through briefly how we've made progress both from the initiation from 2016 to now, and how we really see this as pointing to the future. So triple-negative breast cancer is one of the most aggressive forms of cancer, and it disproportionately affects African American women. It's a cancer that we really need to have better treatments for and better ways to identify those at increased risk. So two IU investigators, Dr. Milan Radovich and Dr. Brian Schneider, have been working on this tough question for the past 5 years. And what they have found through the Precision Health Initiative is a blood test that they've developed that can be used in women who have been treated through chemotherapy and also through surgery. And by looking for tumor DNA inside the blood, they're able to identify those women who are more likely to remain in remission. And importantly, those women who are more likely to relapse, that is, to have their cancer return. And so this is very exciting because it, first of all, points us a way that we can identify women at greatest risk and also use this in the development of new clinical trials.
Yeah, in the childhood osteosarcoma, Tyler Trent, of course, got a lot of attention from around the nation, around the world, really, to his courageous battle with that disease. That's another focus area.
Absolutely. So you're absolutely right. The contributions and the awareness that Tyler Trent has given us to this rare cancer called osteosarcoma has been really a way that we've been able to leverage the Grand Challenge. So the first is he donated his tumors that could be then studied by researchers, and a researcher at IU School of Medicine, Dr. Karen Pollack, has been able to identify a group of drugs that can be used to slow the growth of his tumor. And why that's important is that gives us new insight on how we could potentially treat other children and individuals who develop osteosarcoma. So we see that as a great new and potential advance for the future that we're focusing on.
Yeah, Dr. Sharon Moe, the Indiana Clinical and Translational Services Institute plays a big role here. Talk about that, because there are so many partnerships and collaborations that your organization has, the operation has around the state with academic institutions, with communities. It really is a statewide initiative.
Right, and that's why we call it the Indiana Clinical and Translational Sciences Institute, or the CTSI for short. And it's co-directed by myself and my colleague, Dr. Sarah Weehee. Excuse me. And our mission is very broad. Let's improve the health in Indiana. And our goal, really what we provide, is an infrastructure for investigators to succeed. So we provide pilot funding, training the next generation of researchers from high school all the way up through to medical schools, services, advice, accelerating innovation to the patient, and fostering the work done by researchers. So basically what we're doing is we're taking ideas that researchers may have in the lab, or different ways to deliver healthcare, different systems or methods or diagnostics, and we actually figure out how to get it to patients. And that requires a whole pathway of resources and experiments and studies and everything to get it there. And then once successful, we work closely with our statewide partners to implement these findings through our relationships. So this includes healthcare partners, the state community organizations. We have over 300 community organizations that work with us. But we also do the reverse. So we also ask our community organizations and our health providers in the state, what do they need? What do they need to improve the health? Mm-hmm. And so we take those back to investigators and we start all over. So it's really bi-directional flows of ideas, research, and solutions.
Yeah, very quickly, we only have about a minute left. But Dr. Moe, this obviously there's an impact on health, but quality of life, quality of place, if you will, around the state of Indiana. What we're talking about here, I think, has a direct correlation to that as well.
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, the COVID-19 is a great example. It was an absolute crisis in the spring, and all of our IU sites, the state, the Reagan Street, all the hospitals came together to develop a dashboard. Mm-hmm. And then when we were short of PPE, protective equipment, we mobilized 3D printers across our state infrastructure, including IV Tech, and printed and distributed over 100,000 face masks and 50,000 face shields. Yep. We're doing a vaccine trial using our resources for the AstraZeneca. We collected blood and samples to help investigators figure out how can one disease give you a cough and a loss of smell and kidney disease. So there's a lot of puzzles to be answered. And so by mobilizing this infrastructure, we really were able to get at needs very quickly. And having that is really important.
The Precision Health Initiative, a lot more we can talk about on that. You're making a big difference around the state of Indiana. Dr. Tatiana Faroud, also Dr. Sharon Moe. Thank you both for joining us, and we'll keep in touch. Hopefully have you on the show again.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
All right.
The COVID-19 pandemic has been tough on universities and students alike. Butler University has made the decision to freeze tuition for the 2021-2022 academic school year. Butler President James Danko outlined the decision in our Eye on Education segment.
Well, let's talk about this because this is the first time since 1983 that Butler has frozen tuition for the upcoming academic year. What led to the decision?
Well, certainly, first and foremost, the well-being of our students and families. Obviously, we're all going through a very difficult time. It's been a trying few months and still ahead of us as well. And we know that the pressure is on our families to pay for tuition. Obviously, the pressure is on the university as well. But when we step back to look at this annual process we go for setting tuition moving forward, we recognize this was not the right year to be raising tuition. And having spoken through this with my leadership team and with our trustees, it was pretty uniformly agreed that we would hold on raising tuition this year.
Yeah, and you mentioned the pressure on universities everywhere, colleges and universities when it comes to cost. So this type of move too I would think have some benefits when it comes to recruiting students and others going forward.
Well, absolutely. You know, the world of higher ed, I think this whole issue of disruption and cost pressure has really been, really been underscored during this pandemic. The change is happening quicker than we probably anticipate. Families, students are looking at different alternative forms of education, and it's incumbent upon universities like Butler University and others to do everything they can to be cognizant of the cost of education.
Yeah, I know you're taking the opportunity as well to offer, I guess what I call a bonus to full-time faculty and staff.
Well, there's a correlation. You know, we use the annual increase, frankly, to address the ongoing increase in cost, especially for a university like Butler that has risen itself in national prominence. We're recruiting faculty and staff from all over the country, so the cost of the talent continues to go up, and that includes an annual cost of living adjustment that we try to provide to our faculty and our staff. So this year, what we're doing in lieu of that, since we do not have the tuition increases, that we've provided a bonus to our faculty and staff of $1,000 each, both to recognize the great work they've done getting us through this pandemic, as well as something for their own cost of living and financial situations.
Yeah, how's the university fared during the pandemic?
You know, I have to say we've really done quite well. I do a lot of benchmarking, obviously, with our fellow Indiana universities as well as the Big East. We went after this thing with budget adjustments and changes right from the beginning. It's left us in a really positive position right now, and in terms of being able to manage through this. Obviously, there's still quite a bit of uncertainty ahead of us, but I'm really pleased with the way we've progressed and the way way. Again, our faculty and staff, I have to really give them a major shout out because they've done an extraordinary job of making sure our students have been well educated and well taken care of on our campus.
Partnerships, a big part of higher education now, including with the business community. I know you've had a partnership that's continuing now with Aperio, a tech company, with a presence here in Indianapolis as well.
Yeah, that's one of many things that we've got going in terms of partnerships, alliances, and so forth with both businesses and educational partners. But Aperio has supported this program where we've got some of our students being trained for Salesforce.com certification in conjunction with their university education. So they come out of here with the skills that we know that employers are demanding of our students nowadays to assure that they're well prepared to hit the ground running when they leave Butler University.
Yeah, I know you're getting ready for some March Madness too. Butler will be hosting a couple of games in the NCAA basketball tournament. We'll look forward to visiting the campus certainly for that and in future months. Jim Danko, as always, great to see you. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you so much, Gary. Appreciate it.
And finally this week, Super Bowl 55 certainly had a different look than in years past. Meantime, the Big Ten tournament is returning to Indy, and the Colts need a new quarterback. Wish TV sports director Anthony Calhoun joined us from Tampa ahead of the big game to talk about it all with Bill Benner on Inside Indiana Sports.
Well, we're going to talk about Super Bowl 55, but first, let's talk about breaking news because you broke it on Thursday morning when you revealed that the Big Ten men's basketball tournament will add to our March Madness by relocating from Chicago to Lucas Oil Stadium. That's another incredible coup for the city of Indianapolis.
Yeah, it is. And, when I got the news from some sources that this was going to happen and take place in our great city, I was thrilled because, you know how tough it's been with the economy and just trying to get big events to Indianapolis. And we lost so much last year because of the pandemic. And to get word earlier in the week here that it was going to happen was just great news to report to the folks in Indianapolis. But here we are, the men's NCAA tournament going to take place obviously here in Indianapolis. And then now you got the Big Ten men's tournament, and it's going to be great. They'll play at Lucas Oil Stadium. That's what I'm hearing. That's what they're hoping to play because the ladies are already in town playing at Bankers Life Fieldhouse. So it is going to be a fun week of Big Ten basketball in Indianapolis. And then think about that. You got that week of action, and then you got 3 more weeks of college basketball right in the Hoosier State. It is going to be just a tremendous month for folks who love basketball.
Well, AC, let's talk about the Super Bowl. Again, you've been down there all week. It has to be just a surreal kind of Super Bowl environment, given everything that's going on elsewhere in the world with COVID.
Yeah, Bill, that's a great question because it is very just different, just strange this year. I've covered many Super Bowls, and I tell you one thing that grabbed my attention. Usually this place, they'll credit they'll give out about 5,000 credentials to the media. Not the case at all this year. When we checked in early in the week, they maybe had 10 media members ahead of us. That's it, myself and our photographer. It's very different, very COVID-19 driven, obviously. When you're not on television for the most part, you have to have your mask on. Every time I'm checking in for going to an event or even going to any type of setting up for virtual press conferences, you have to have your mask on. We get a COVID-19 screening all the time as well. But I will say this, though. Just talking to the host committee down here, even though it's tough for them right now as far as, a Super Bowl unlike any other, but they're grateful that they have just some business in general. That their hotel rooms are taken up. Usually it's about 86 filled to capacity during the Super Bowl. Around this time, early in the week, it's only 53% filled right now. But at the end of the day, they're happy that they have bodies in there and they can make some type of money to bring into this economy here from Super Bowl 55.
AC, just a little less than a minute ago, we got to talk about the Colts. A very fluid situation with quarterback, rumors floating around that Andrew Luck's coming back. Certainly, Matthew Stafford has already announced his decision to go to the LA Rams. Are you hearing anything down in Tampa in the middle of the NFL environment?
I heard all those Andrew Luck rumors early in the week, which we know those are not true. But it would be nice if Andrew decided to come back when we like that. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. There's been a lot of talk, Bill, that Carson Wentz from Philadelphia that the Eagles apparently are listening to possibly trade opportunities for him. I wouldn't mind seeing him come to Indy. I mean, he's got a great relationship, of course, with Frank Reich. He played his best football with Frank Reich when he was with the Eagles, so I wouldn't mind that at all. You got Darnold as well with the Jets. We'll see what happens, but one thing we know for sure, they're going to have to get a mobile quarterback, a guy who can not only just throw the football, obviously, but is able to move around as well, because with the line that quarterback's going to have and the protection that he gets, and then the wide receivers, whoever comes in here is going to be successful, my man.
Well, Anthony, certainly we enjoy your coverage this week from Tampa. We wish you the best. Have a safe trip home, and we'll see you soon, my friend. Thank you.
Hey, Bill, real quick, don't get mad at me, I'm going with the Bucks. I think the Bucks are going to win. I think Tom gets number 7.
Oh, man.
Sorry.
Oh, man. That's hard to say here in Indianapolis. AC, thanks.
That wraps up this week's Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. Remember, you can find all of this week's TV segments, as well as the top business news from throughout the state, at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. While you're there, you can also subscribe to our platform of free e-newsletters. This is Andy Ober for Inside Indiana Business.